Hey everybody, it's Mr. Buro from Staten Tech, and today I'm going to be doing a demo on how you control views and a couple other things inside Revit. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was section boxes, and section boxes are for 3D, manipulating views in 3D. So if you scroll down here inside the properties browser, you could go ahead and turn on a section box, and it doesn't look like anything happened here, but if you zoom out a little bit, you'll see this particular box here. So before I do anything, I'm going to first preserve what I have for this 3D view, and I'm going to just duplicate it, and I'll rename this thing to say just 3D and then section. And now I'm in that view at the moment, and I will turn the section box on. And once you click on this box, you could actually slide the walls of this box towards the building, and it'll give you a lot more control as to what's visible. As you know from engineering and architecture, the word section basically is from the word cross-section, or the term cross-section, meaning you get to look at something from a view where part of the item was cut off. So if I go ahead and do something like this, you could see in those rooms, and as you could see, what I've cut into, you could see the ceilings that are in there. I kind of cut right through the bathtub and the toilet. So I'm looking at a bathroom over here and kind of an entranceway over there. Not quite what I was having in mind for being useful at the moment. Really what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to see inside this house without taking the roof or anything off yet, for the purpose of laying down furniture. So I'm going to drop this top section box part maybe to like halfway, and that will cut off the walls at that particular point where I can see all the window placements still. I can see all the door placements, and now I would have a really easy time manipulating things in 3 dimensions, such as the place of the sink or where the chairs are. I can even change locations for doors and things by just clicking on them and having that control factor where I can use the keyboard to kind of squeeze things in. And then, you know, just by moving it around left and right and things like that, I have a lot of control over this particular view. So that's a section box view. And again, I recommend preserving the original 3D view with nothing changed at all, and going ahead and duplicating it to create a sectional 3D view for the purpose of being able to place components and appliances and things like that as needed. And of course, you could adjust this very quickly to really only focus on one room. Bring this in. There, right now, I could actually see almost this entire room with just these walls being cut off. So it's pretty useful for getting the exact view that you need without actually harming anything, and certainly not affecting any other views. That's something that a lot of people don't quite understand in Revit. When you're using section boxes and things like that, they are only changing what you see in that current view. And that's a very, very, very important thing to understand. Also, I'd like to point out a few things here where you could see quite a bit of detail here and a pretty good look at what this thing might look like in 3D should I do rendering, or also the Enscape interactive render in real time. So either the built-in render in Revit or the Enscape render, I would see something that looked like this brick face and this particular material for the roof and the wooden door, the wooden floors on the inside, all of those things. That type of stuff you want to control a little bit by looking over here. This is called the detail level. If I put it to coarse in the 3D view, we lose the doorknobs and all the door fixtures. The window looks very plain because it has no panes on it of glass other than the main one. But that's really it. Maybe on the interior, you're going to lose some detail, but not a lot. 3D views are not really affected so much. If I put it up to medium level, you'll see some of the drawings occur for like where the panes would be. And then, of course, the fine level, you could see the actual panes of glass now and the door hardware came back. So not a lot of difference there for the detail level of a 3D view. This one, much more important, This realistic view is very system resource dependent, especially if you turn on a few other options. So most of the time when I'm doing work, I really switch back to consistent colors, where you can see the general coloring of objects, but in like a very, very bright, high contrast view, which allows Revit to flow very, very smoothly, but also give you the option of seeing things in color and having that high contrast for working. A different variant of that would be the shaded view, where you could see like kind of shadows and stuff, but not really shadows, just different shaded particular faces of walls and things like that, as opposed to consistent color, which doesn't take into account that shaded view. That's like a traditional architecture thing for drawing isometrics and stuff. Then there's the hidden line view, which I find the second most important view. This is the black and white version of the same thing for consistent colors, but all of the surfaces are there to see. When you go to wireframe, it's pretty insignificant because no one is really going to be looking at the house in this particular view unless under specialized circumstances. The wireframe makes everything completely transparent for you to be able to see the details, but you have to control it a lot more to make sure you understand what the hell's going on in the program. So let's switch back to hidden line view for this particular thing. Let's take a look at what that is in 2D as well. This is a 2D drawing with coarse detail and hidden line view. When I switch this to fine detail, I'll jump right all the way up to there. You could see all of the wall detail from the cross section of the wall is visible, as well as the stuff on the inside does change a little bit too. It's kind of hard to notice all those things, but take a really close look and you'll see there's a lot of mini changes on the inside that you're going to want to take care of with that thing. And I highly recommend sticking on the fine detail view unless you're trying to snap onto something that really is very basic, and then you can switch to that coarse detail. But the fine detail is really good because it lets you see what the exterior faces are of the walls and where the interior faces of the walls and different layers and things like that do appear. As far as coloring, again, the wireframe view is like this. It shows like a little bit more transparency and stuff. I don't think that's a good idea. We want to stick to either the hidden line view like this, or you can go to consistent colors, which is a really nice look for the particular 2D views. So either consistent color or hidden line. You don't really need the realistic view in this case. It's kind of nice to see the texturing of the rugs and the floors and the brick wall over here. But to leave this on normally, it's not a good idea because, again, it's a very, very heavy resource thing where you're taking a lot of energy away from the computer. So let's go back to consistent color. So that is the detail level as well as the graphic display options as far as these two buttons are concerned. If I go back to 3D, you could see the sun path. I don't know if that's something that's important to be able to see, as well as, let me turn on the realistic view here. So you can actually change which way the sun goes. That really doesn't have any effect on the building right now until I turn the shadows on. So now that you see the shadows on, I could actually move the sun to different locations, and not only can you see where the sun is, but you can actually change its angle and stuff like that based on whatever day that you pick from this calendar, from sunrise to sunset. It's a pretty powerful tool. Again, for visualizing, it's not really that important, but for other things such as solar analysis and other 4D type things that are built into Revit for simulations and all of those, it's really important to be able to control where the sun is at any moment during the view. You could look at these things in 3D also. Like if I turn on the shadows in 3D, you could see the shadows being created by the objects inside the house. I find it to be not very necessary for the design process, but more for the rendering processes to control whether or not shadows and sun are on. So for the most part, you're going to keep those off. Also, within these levels, we have the crop and crop region, like cropping a view in the crop region. We're going to be talking more about that in a future video. But really what that does is it controls like how far away from the actual model you can see. So you want to control how big the view is by taking a look at this crop region, which right now is enormous. But I can go ahead and bring that inward to actually crop part of the view out. So that's a really important thing for when placing views on sheets. But again, we'll be addressing that in a different video. So those two buttons are there. Other things that you might want to take a look at, let's go over to the scale option. I kind of glossed over this before. The scale is also most important for placing views on sheets and things like that. But you got to notice that things inside Revit are annotated, which means they actually adjust based on your zoom and scale level while viewing something. So this text is supposed to be a 1/4 inch high, and this dimension is using 3/32 inch text. And you could change those things if you want inside here. I could edit the type of this and change the size of the text and all that stuff. But for the most part, you want to trust what Revit sets as normal and then adjust it over here by messing with the scale. So it's currently set at 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. But if I go down one step, you'll see that the text does shrink. Both the dimension text and the regular text does shrink. And let's say I go up a step, and you can see it does get much bigger. Okay, even the tick marks of the dimensions do change size, which is a really interesting thing to see. Okay, so you'll be adjusting this more when you're placing views on a sheet. But for now, understand that this scale, while it doesn't really make things appear different within the model, it does affect the annotative things a lot. And also, again, how you place the views on the sheet. Other things that could be pretty useful, I'm going to duplicate this particular view here. And what I want to do is I want to make a view that shows no floors. I've done this before in a dimensioning video, but I want to kind of address it a little bit more here. I'm going to click on a floor, and I will pick hide the category of floors in the view. And now I'll show you that within just a second, I have this particular view here, which does not show any floors, and I'm keeping it black and white, as opposed to this one where I do show the coloring and the floors. It's pretty great to see something like that. You also sometimes want to make a view where you don't show anything besides walls, windows, and doors, and I'll show you how that works in just a second using a different function. I could, of course, use that same function, but I don't have to. I'll get to that in a second. So let's call that VG for Visibility and Graphics. This particular 3D view, again, if I wanted to hide a couple of things in here, just like before, I could click on this roof and pick to hide it. And this is a temporary hide. And then I could pick this ceiling, and I'll hide all the ceilings. And believe it or not, I can actually hide the walls. So there, I've hidden the roof, the ceiling, and the walls in this particular drawing, which makes it look very awkward. But at any time, I can pick on this light bulb option to reveal what elements are hidden, and it'll show me highlighted in magenta what actually has been hidden. So I could then right-click it and pick unhide the category in view, and you can see it's no longer magenta. So if I turn that light bulb off, you'll see that the walls indeed are back. And I could have done that also, of course, for the ceilings and the roof. Same thing if I wanted to temporarily hide something, I can click on a wall and pick the sunglasses option to temporarily hide it. And I can pick again to hide isolate the category or hide the category. If I pick isolate the category, it'll only show walls, which is an interesting feature. And then I just hit reset and they all come back. So these two buttons right here are really, really powerful for making temporary changes to a view. And then, of course, having full control to bring them back. These other ones you really don't have to worry about. This is for the view properties. You could set like a template for hiding things or displaying things in a certain way by setting up what's called a temporary template for view properties. This one is for analytical models. We don't have to worry about that one as well. This button over here is for setting something called the displacement set. Also not worrying about that. And the constraints, which are pretty important for like when you're looking at, let's say, an area plan or something like that, and you want to show the constraints of what's locked to something or what's not locked to something. I don't think there's any constraints in this particular drawing right now. No, there aren't. But if I did have like an area plan that was locked or some sort of alignment, like let's say I were to take this particular thing and align like that and then lock it. Then if I wanted to see that constraint, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I could see it right here. There's the alignment line by just showing that constraint. It's pretty interesting how you have that particular view option there. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to show was the visibility in graphics. So again, I have this level 1 view like this, and if I wanted to just show stuff on here such as walls, windows, and doors, I'll go into the view menu, click on visibility in graphics, and then in this particular area, I will select everything and then unselect all of these options here. And right now I'm in the category for model, but there's also annotation category, analytical categories, and then imported categories. I'm just going to mess with the model here, and I'm going to make sure I want to see areas, doors, lines. Lines are important for reference planes, and also lines are important for area plans for showing the boundaries and stuff like that. So doors, areas, lines, walls, and windows are what I want to see in particular here. I want to hit OK. You'll see that all of those things have disappeared except for what I specified, which is doors, walls, windows, and the other things that are not really visible, area and lines. The dimensions are currently still visible. If I wanted to turn those off, I would go into the annotation category, select everything, and unselect all the stuff that's visible, and then hit apply. And as you can see, the text and dimension have disappeared as well. So visibility and graphics for having that massive amount of control as to what is visible in the view. And again, if you take a look at the top here, it says visibility graphic overrides for the floor plan level 1 VG, only affecting this particular view by messing with this menu. And then you go into this and you have a whole new set of visibility and graphics settings for that particular view. It's very important to be able to know how to control these things inside the program. Section boxes, visibility and graphics for that big scale change, and also the view control bar for you toggling like whether or not you want to see something in color or black and white, and a number of other those minor details that can be toggled on and off with very much ease. So I hope you use these things to make yourself a more efficient user in Revit. And if you have any questions, of course, just send me a message and I'll be there to help you out. Thank you very much.